Hey there fish fans, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the deep waters of fish on Roblox to talk about something super important. Rods. Now, if you've been playing for a while, you know that not all rods are created equal. Some of them, well, let's just say they're about as useful as a rusty hook on a sunny day. Investing in the wrong rod can really set you back, wasting both your hard-earned coins and precious time. But don't worry, I've got your back. In this video, I'm breaking down the best rods you'll actually want to use, so you don't end up swimming upstream. We've put together the ultimate tier list, highlighting which rods are worth the grind and which ones you can skip altogether. Whether you're a newbie angler or a seasoned pro, this list will help you reel in the best gear and keep you focused on what's going to make your fishing adventures smoother and more rewarding. So grab your fishing hat, cast a line, and let's get into the ultimate fish rod tier list. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking rods in fish. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: fortune rod, fast rod, lucky rod, plastic rod, long rod, flimsy rod, and training rod. Alright, let's get into the nitty gritty of the C tier rods in fish. If you're struggling with which rod to pick or wondering if any of these rods are worth your time, spoiler, not really, keep watching because we're diving deep into why some of these just don't measure up. Starting with the fortune rod, and sure, the name sounds promising. I mean, who doesn't want a bit of luck with their catch? It's decent if you're after bestiary completion, but that's about where the charm ends. The stats are underwhelming and it's way overpriced. You're paying top dollar for something that feels like bottom shelf quality. And honestly, you're better off just moving on to something with a little more bite. Next up, we've got the fast rod and the lucky rod. Now, they try to offer specific perks, with the fast rod giving you a quicker lure speed and the lucky rod boosting your luck. But don't get too excited, both of these rods are overshadowed by the trusty carbon rod, which outperforms them in almost every way. So, while the fast and lucky rods aren't the worst, they're like that friend who shows up late and still expects to be the life of the party. Nice try, but they don't quite cut it. The plastic rod and long rod are up next. And honestly, these two are the classic, don't bother, just go for the carbon rod options. It's like choosing to ride a tricycle when there's a shiny new bike right next to it. Sure, they'll work, but they're just not worth the detour. Skip these and thank me later. Finally, we have the flimsy rod and training rod. Now, flimsy really says it all. This one's got a terrible max kg. You'll be lucky to reel in anything remotely exciting. The training rod at least has a bit of humor. It's mainly good for catching logs. Yup, actual logs. It's got some of the worst stats around, but hey, if you're into woodwork, this rod is for you. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: carbon rod, fungal rod, magma rod, haunted rod, rapid rod, and Midas rod. Alright, so you're in fish and you're looking to upgrade that rod game? Let's dive into some of the B tier rods that are solid choices for the mid game, but hey, some of them have their quirks. These rods are decent, but each one has its limits, so let's go through the details of what makes them worth it, and when it might be time to let them go. Let's start with the carbon rod. Now, this one's like your high school best friend, super reliable, always there for you, but eventually you'll outgrow it. It's great for those early game catches, letting you reel in fish like a pro when you're just starting out. But here's the catch, no pun intended. After you've put some hours into fish, the carbon rod's going to feel like it's slowing you down. Early game, it's a champ. Later on, not so much. Next up, we've got the fungal rod. Now this one's interesting. It's actually one of the best early rods, and it has a cool luck boost that works with crab cages. Yep, that's right. It can help fill those cages up faster, but good luck actually getting your hands on it. This rod can be a bit elusive. If you manage to snag it though, it's absolutely worth it in those early stages. Then there's the magma rod, which is like that friend who's super fun in one specific setting, but kind of a dud everywhere else. In the Roslet volcano area, it's great, but outside of that hotspot, it's pretty much forgettable with subpar stats. It's easy to get, which makes it good for beginners, but if you're planning on exploring beyond the volcano, you'll quickly find better options. The haunted rod is up next, and this one's all about spooky season. With solid stats all around, it's actually a decent choice, but here's the deal. It's only available during Fish Fright, the game's Halloween event. Plus, those Fish Fright mutations aren't exactly money makers, so it's a rod with limited earning potential. Great stats, but it's kind of like a Halloween costume you can only wear once a year. And lastly, we've got the Midas rod. You'd think anything with Midas in the name would be solid gold, right? Well, kinda. It's okay for making some extra cash, but it's way too expensive, and the stats are pretty meh. Plus, don't even think about catching anything rare with it unless you're adding enchants. The Midas rod is nice if you're in it for some gold, but it's far from a golden choice for serious anglers. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King's Rod, Destiny Rod, Steady Rod, Nocturnal Rod, Reinforced Rod, and Magnet Rod. Alright, let's dive into the real stars of fish, the A tier rods. These babies are not not top of the line, but they're trusty and effective for specific goals. Whether you're after rare catches, big trophies, or just a quick buck, each rod brings its own flavor to the fishing experience. So let's break it down rod by rod and talk about where they shine, where they flop, and which one might be your new go-to. First up, the King's Rod. If you're after those big or giant fish, the King's Rod is a total powerhouse. This rod makes catching fish feel like a walk in the park and is an excellent choice for showing off massive catches in your haul. But here's the catch, pun intended. It doesn't exactly rake in the cash, so if you're trying to line your pockets with some sweet fishy profits, maybe keep this one on the back burner and stick to your regulars. Next, we have the Destiny Rod, the best friend of rare fish hunters. If you're filling up your bestiary, this rod is a gem, thanks to its knack for snagging shiny and sparkling fish like it's no big deal. That said, the Destiny Rod needs a bit of help for the tougher catches, so bring along some enchantments if you're aiming for the heavy hitters. Oh, and don't expect to cash in big here either, it's mainly for the love of the collection. Moving on to the Steady Rod, this one's for all you early game fishers who want something that's both practical and wallet friendly. It catches fish smoothly and can even help you make some good money early on. However, as soon as you unlock the King's Rod, the Steady starts to show its limits. But hey, while it's relevant, this rod will serve you well. Then there's the Nocturnal Rod, which is fantastic for night owls. This rod is pretty specialized, it shines when catching nocturnal fish and is perfect for those nighttime fishing sprees. It's also great for your bestiary completionist dreams, but just like the Destiny, it needs some enchants and bait to grab the tougher catches. And don't rely on it if you're after cash, it's all about adding variety to your catches here. The Reinforced Rod is an interesting one. Its main claim to fame: it can fish in any liquid, so if you're on a lava-filled fishing trip or maybe testing out some hazardous waters, this rod's got your back. But aside from that one unique feature, its stats just don't hold up. Consider it a specialty rod for adventurous anglers only. And finally, we've got the Magnet Rod, a solid moneymaker for beginners. This one's perfect if you're just getting started and want to make a quick profit, but don't count on it for bestiary work. The Magnet Rod is all about cash flow, and if rare fish or giant catches are on your to-do list, you might want to look elsewhere. So there you have it. A-tier rods in fish bring different strengths to the table. Whether you're a collector, a cash grabber, or a nocturnal angler, there's something here for everyone. Just remember to match your rod to your goal, and you'll be reeling in the perfect catches in no time. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, No Life Rod, Trident Rod, Aurora Rod, Mythical Rod, and Sunken Rod. Picture this. You're out on the crystal clear waters in fish, casting your line with a rod that practically screams, "I'm here to catch the big ones." But here's the thing, choosing the right rod makes all the difference between a pocket full of cash or a long day of catching. Well, not much. So, let's dive into the legendary S-tier rods in fish. These bad boys are where things get serious. Each has its quirks, its strengths, and, yes, a couple of weak spots too. But if you're looking to rule the waters, you can't go wrong with any of them. Let's break down what makes each of these rods tick. First up, the No Life Rod. This is like the king of stats. No rod can even touch its numbers, making it the go-to choice if you're hunting for the toughest catches. But here's the twist. It's surprisingly lackluster in the cash department. So if you're more about collecting the rarest fish rather than raking in the cash, this is the one. Think of it as the rod you pull out when you're just in it for the thrill, not the money. It's a luxury for those who've mastered the game, not for the rookies still learning the ropes. Then there's the Trident Rod, which is a bit of an all-rounder with some excellent perks. Not only does it have top-tier lure speed and luck, but it also comes with a passive ability that makes catching those super tough fish feel like reeling in guppies. Plus, this thing is a money-making machine. It's the perfect choice for players looking to get a return on their catches. The only catch, pun intended, it's a pain to get if you're new to the game. But trust me, once you've got it, the Trident rod becomes a solid favorite. Now, let's talk about the Aurora rod. If you're planning to fish during an Aurora, this rod is your absolute best friend. It's built for raking in profits when the Aurora hits, outshining even the mythical rod in the cash department during these magical moments. That said, it does have a bit of a weak spot. It struggles with the tougher fish unless you've got the right bait or enchantments. Plus, it's not exactly easy to get your hands on, but for players who love to fish under the Aurora Glow, it's a must-have in your toolkit. Speaking of must-haves, the mythical rod is a fan favorite for good reason. This one is incredibly easy to get, making it ideal for players at any stage of the game. The stats are great across the board, so you're not sacrificing much by using it. And when it comes to making money, the mythical rod's right up there with the best. The only downside, you'll have a rough time catching harder fish unless you bring along some resilience bait or a strong enchantment. But really, this rod makes the game accessible without feeling like you're missing out. And finally, we have the sunken rod. This rod has a unique perk. It's fantastic for farming treasure maps. If you're looking to add some serious loot to your collection, the sunken rod is where it's at. Its stats are solid too, so you're not just picking it up for the treasure maps alone. Money-wise, it holds its own. Just like with the others though, hard to catch fish will need some resilience bait. So, if treasure hunting is your thing, you'll want this rod in your arsenal. So, there you have it. The S-tier rods in Fish are packed with personality, each bringing something unique to the table. Whether you're chasing rare fish, stacking up cash, or uncovering hidden treasures, these rods will keep you busy and bring the excitement up a notch. Just be prepared. Whichever one you choose, there's always a little catch, and I mean that in the best way. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.